And good evening, everyone. I'm Lee Webb.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. The cross at a war memorial can stay. That's the ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court. The wooden cross has stood in California's Mojave Desert for more than 75 years. A national park employee sued to have it removed, saying religious symbols should not be allowed on public land. So caretakers of the cross tried to have the land transferred to private property. The 8-foot cross was covered up while the case went through the courts. Today, in a 5-4 ruling, the High Court said the cross can remain in place. Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote, the goal of avoiding governmental endorsement does not require eradication of all religious symbols in the public realm. Retiring Justice John Paul Stevens, in dissent, called the cross, quote, an endorsement of a starkly sectarian message.
And for more on the significance of this ruling, we turn to Jordan Sekulow in our Washington bureau. He is with the American Center for Law and Justice. And Jordan, it's going to be fascinating to watch supporters of this cross go up there and take that makeshift shield down so that the cross can be displayed. Why do you think this case is so important?
It's important for a couple reasons, Lee, and thanks for having me back on. First, when you look at the decision, look at how close we are here on the U.S. Supreme Court declaring a cross like this unconstitutional, 5-4. We also got to see how Justice Sotomayor rules on cases like this about the Establishment Clause, about religious symbols. You know, we had a case at the American Center for Law and Justice very similar to this about a Ten Commandments display in a city's park in Utah. We won 9-0. Here was a little bit of a different situation because it also involved a land transfer. But as Wendy said, this cross has been there since 1934. It was donated by the Veterans of Foreign Wars. It is only 6 foot tall. It's in the middle of the Mojave Desert, honoring World War I veterans and those who fallen. You know, and Justice Kennedy also in this opinion, Lee, which is a hope for the future, again, though, pointing to the fact that this is still 5-4 for the Supreme Court, pointing to hope, saying, if we declare a cross like this unconstitutional, what about all those crosses at Normandy? What about the crosses at Arlington Cemetery? So that is a good sign that the court is still on firm footing when it comes to those kind of issues.
And how did Justice Sotomayor rule?
She ruled that this would be unconstitutional. She agreed with the Ninth Circuit. She joined the dissent. So we now know where she would stand on cases very similar to this. Now, many commentators believe she could have been a little bit more conservative on Establishment Clause issues, on religious issues, and free speech issues that involve this. Now we've seen she's joining that liberal bloc pretty firmly, which is against any kind of religious display or any kind of religious language in the public square. We've seen it with National Day of Prayer. So now we know with that court case probably going to the Supreme Court as well very soon, how someone like Justice Sotomayor would be looking at it. Yeah,
this ruling did not, as you say, determine the constitutionality of the cross. Most of the debate was over the land where the cross stands being transferred to private property. Why does that matter?
It matters because the situation that the Congress had enacted a law for this specific cross, this specific monument. They wanted to transfer it to a private group to stop the lawsuits. These lawsuits have been going on for years. It was brought by a former park employee who said he wasn't offended by it, so there was no real injury, but he just didn't think it was right for the government to have a cross on its property. So that was his argument. The Ninth Circuit, which has been overturned more than any other circuit by the United States Supreme Court, went along with his argument. They were the circuit that declared the Pledge of Allegiance unconstitutional as well. But the Supreme Court, it's a good sign. They're sending the case back saying, listen, the standard that you applied, Ninth Circuit, is wrong. This is not how this matter should be looked at. This is not how we should be judging the cross or the constitutionality of the cross. So it goes back with very strong wording from Justice Kennedy. Of course, it's not the end of the matter, but it's a good day for people who support the cross and understand the importance of these religious monuments. The ACLJ, we represented 15 members of Congress, and we'll continue to do so.
Jordan Sekulow from the ACLJ. Jordan, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Lee.